Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Adam Burke from BangTheBook.com coming to you with my Wednesday weekend look ahead, my look at some situational spots coming up here this weekend in the NBA, NHL, and college basketball. Over at BangTheBook.com, lots of great stuff going on right now, including Parker Michaels' daily NHL picks, Kyle Hunter's daily college basketball picks, NBA coverage every day from Alan Moody and Admir Algic, also college basketball coverage from Jonathan Willis and Corey Pabst. We also cover esports, tennis, UFC, golf, NASCAR, and we'll have a lot of Major League Baseball stuff rolling out here very soon over at BangTheBook.com as well. Speaking of Major League Baseball, if you missed today's edition of Bang the Book Radio, make sure you check that out. I elaborated a little bit more with my thoughts on the 5 teams in the American League East at the start of today's show. And then in the second segment, talked with Wes Reynolds about a couple of the listener questions we discussed on Monday, and then also some college basketball and some golf tips from him. So you can find those segments right here on our Bang the Book YouTube page. You can also find Bang the Book Radio on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, you name it, you're going to find Bang the Book Radio there. All right, let's go ahead and take a look here at the weekend, see what we've got coming up. And we'll start in the association here with the NBA. Handful of spots to consider for this weekend. We start on Saturday night with the Brooklyn Nets taking on the Miami Heat. Standalone road game for the Nets here. It's a very long trip from Brooklyn to Miami. Couple-hour flight there. Obviously, it's not that big of a deal getting a straight flight from New York City to Miami. Not like some of the other travel headaches we could have, but still, very early morning arrival here for the Nets, coming off of Friday night's game against Charlotte. Then they'll return right back home. So a little bit of a tricky spot here for Brooklyn, a Brooklyn team that's pretty much in the same boat as Miami right now as far as the playoff picture goes. So interesting game here where the situational spot definitely does appear to favor the home team on Saturday night between the Nets and the Heat. Warriors and the Sixers play on Saturday. This is your spotlight game of the weekend. ABC with the coverage of this one. Not a great spot here for Golden State. Third game in 4 nights, fourth game in 6 nights, all of those games on the road, and also a 6th game in 10 nights overall for Golden State. This is the last game of the road trip, and sometimes we do see teams rally in that final game of the road trip. But, obviously this is a litmus test game for the Philadelphia 76ers. We hope they're healthy. We hope that they use everybody in this spot. But, we've seen the Sixers in some of these measuring stick games here before over the last couple of years. You sort of wonder how this one in particular plays out for them. Do the Warriors want to send a message? Do the Sixers want to send a message about their sustainability at the top of the Eastern Conference and how seriously you want to take them come playoff time? Should be a very good one. But again, the spot definitely does favor the less experienced, at least in spots like this, home team in the 76ers. Obvious spot here on Saturday night between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Utah Jazz. Back-to-back for the Bucks. They play in Los Angeles Friday night. Now they play in Salt Lake City Saturday night. So playing in altitude for that second game in as many nights could be a little bit of a tough one there for the Bucks. Do they maybe sit some guys under the load management label like we've seen some teams do here over the last little while? Could certainly be a possibility with the tough back-to-back. Utah, a lot of home games here recently, so pretty good spot there for the Jazz. The Bucks with a cross-country trip from Chicago to Sacramento earlier on in the week. They're playing their 3rd and 4th nights, 4th and 6th nights. So maybe we do see the Bucks with a little bit of a watered-down lineup. May want to look to take a shot with Utah on the overnight lines on Friday if we do get a number for that game, hoping that the Bucks do decide to sit some of their key personnel. We move over to Sunday in the NBA. How about the Portland Trailblazers on the road against the Charlotte Hornets? 3rd road game in 4.5 days here for Portland because this is a day game in Charlotte. Now, the first 2 road games here of that stretch in Boston and Toronto for Portland. So stepping down in class a little bit here, but this is a Portland team that has had a lot of problems on the road this year. They've been a very, very good home team, not so good on the road, and they're getting some revenge games here against Eastern Conference teams that they beat at home earlier on in the season as they're making their rounds across the country here, across the continent really, in the second half of the season. So not a great spot for Portland here with this 1 o'clock Eastern time tip-off against Charlotte on Sunday afternoon. Finally, one more game to look at here in the NBA. This also a matinee. The New York Knicks on the road against the Los Angeles Clippers. You got a Knicks team that's obviously in tank mode right now. They're trying to be as bad as humanly possible, and this spot looks like a good opportunity for them to do that. 12:30 local time tip-off for this game. Kicks off a run of 3 games in 4 nights on the West Coast for the New York Knicks. Now, they do not have Sunday night off in Los Angeles. They will leave after this game and head up to Sacramento to take on the Kings on Monday night. When you're a bad team and you get a chance to go to Los Angeles late in the season, in particular Los Angeles on a Saturday night, I would expect the players to take full advantage of that situation. Curfew be damned in this one. I think the Knicks could be a very hungover team on Sunday morning, Sunday early afternoon for that game of the 12:30 local time tip-off. Clippers should be able to name the score here. Obviously, this will be a very, very big number to say the least, but the only way I could look in this game, is the Los Angeles Clippers. I think the Knicks will take advantage of those nightlife opportunities. Who knows, maybe we even get some guys suspended for this game, but right now, the way that things look, it is absolutely Clippers or nothing on Sunday, and I don't expect that to change. We transition over to the NHL side of things here for a handful of spots on the ice. Starting Saturday afternoon, the Edmonton Oilers take on the Columbus Blue Jackets. 4th game in 5.5 days for the Oilers here. They'll play a 1 o'clock puck drop Eastern time in Columbus. Columbus is not a team accustomed to playing these early 1 o'clock start times, though. Teams like the Capitals, the Flyers, the Devils, the Penguins, teams that get that NBC Game of the Week billing, they've played a lot of these 1 o'clock start times. Columbus hasn't. So I'm curious to see how the Blue Jackets come out here. Obviously, I think the spot is better for them being at home with that early start time, but you do sort of wonder here if this could be an ugly start for both teams in this particular matchup here on Saturday. Obviously, some tired legs for the Oilers. So you'd want to look at Columbus maybe as a money line parlay piece or something like that. But early start time, 4th game in 5.5 days for the Oilers against the Jackets team, not really used to playing these early matinee matchups. Buffalo and Toronto rematch on Saturday night of Monday night's game, which Toronto did win 5-3. Buffalo did play better than the final score would indicate in that game, so a chance at quick revenge here, a little bit of the rapid revenge theory I talk about in my situational betting articles over at BangTheBook.com. Always spirited when these two teams get together. The Sabres, I mentioned, played well on Monday. Do they exact revenge here on Saturday? Probably not. I would be inclined to maybe look at a Columbus-Toronto moneyline parlay on Saturday, sort of lower the amount of money that you have to put out with two chalky teams there. But, again, obviously Buffalo, these Toronto matchups really do matter a lot to them. So we'll see what they're able to do in that game on Saturday. Another game on Saturday in the NHL that kind of intrigues me here. Ottawa takes on Tampa Bay. Ottawa, a long way away from home here, but after selling off everything not nailed down at the trade deadline, you got to think it's a pretty good thing for them to get out on the road, get some of that camaraderie back by doing team dinners and all those types of things. Also, it doesn't hurt to go from a cold weather climate to a warm weather climate here in the Sunshine State. What I'm kind of intrigued about for this spot for Ottawa is that Tampa Bay is playing a 4th game in 6 days as well, and you've got a Tampa Bay team here that will be coming off of a game against the Boston Bruins. Bruins playing very good hockey right now. 3-team race in the Atlantic Division. Could this be a home letdown spot for the Lightning? You're going to be able to get Ottawa probably in the plus 300 range for this game. I think that's a worthwhile endeavor just to take a shot. Again, you maybe just throw a quarter unit or a third of a unit or something on this game. But I think that could be worth a shot here with Ottawa on Saturday night. If nothing else, maybe look to play that plus 1.5, which could wind up being at a plus money price, or maybe plus 1.5 minus 120, something like that. Looks like a pretty clear flat spot here for Tampa Bay. One more game in the NHL as we look at Sunday's game between the Flyers and the Islanders. Day game here in this one once again. But what's really interesting about this one is it's the 4th game in 5.5 days for both of these teams. The difference is 3rd straight road game for Philadelphia, and the Islanders will have been at home all week. So the spot definitely sets up better for the Islanders on Sunday. The price will reflect that. They will be a pretty big favorite, but both teams playing a 4th game in 5.5 days. Islanders all at home. Flyers, 3rd straight road game. Finally, we move over to the college basketball side of things, and I've got some general thoughts for you here first before we look at a few situational spots and some big games here for this weekend. Lots of senior days this weekend, especially in the small conferences. Conference tournaments start next Monday, and then a lot of conference tournaments begin Tuesday and Wednesday in those low and mid majors. So you're going to get a lot of senior days here Thursday night, Saturday in college basketball. So you want to keep an eye on those particular situations. A lot of times people think that, as we discussed on Wednesday's edition of Bang the Book Radio, that, it's senior day, everyone wants to go out there and play for the seniors, so on and so forth. It can be a tough day. There are a lot of considerations when it comes to senior day. For one thing, some coaches will start all seniors. Maybe some of those seniors are bench guys that play 4, 5, 6 minutes a game. So early on in that game, that team's going to be at a disadvantage. So maybe you look to play the opposition in the first half if you notice you've got a coach that will take a senior-laden lineup to open the game. But more so than that, when you talk about senior-laden classes or star seniors at small schools, and you think about guys like Chris Clemens at Campbell, Mike Daum at South Dakota State, this is a very somber type of moment for those guys. While they're celebrating those accomplishments, those are transcendent players that are leaving those small schools. So those can be situations that are a detriment for the home team, the team celebrating its senior leadership. So you want to look for those situations here this weekend. They could really be interesting, especially when you look at them in the context of the first half. Also, another thing you want to keep in mind with these low and mid-major conferences is that conference tournament seeding considerations are very important here. In a lot of the small conferences, you get built-in advantages for being a top team, whether you get buys or you get maybe a more favorable schedule set up with a longer turnaround time between games or something like that. These conferences do try their best to put their best teams into the big dance. So conference tournament seeding will be up for grabs this weekend. That's something very important you want to look at. And then also do a quick Google search. Look for teams that are making the transition to Division I this year, like a North Alabama, like a Cal Baptist, or look for teams that are banned from postseason play, like an Alabama A&M for a low APR score. The last game of the season coming up for those teams here this weekend, you would think that they probably put forth a pretty strong effort if they want to, or maybe it's a situation where they're ready for the season to end. So a lot of motivational angles and edges to be had here in college basketball this weekend. Now, as far as some other games going on here, Kentucky and Tennessee, big-time rematch here in Knoxville. The first game in Lexington did not go well for the Tennessee Volunteers. You have to think they'll be out here looking for revenge in this one against the Kentucky team that has kind of had some bumps in the road here recently. Maybe the Volunteers in a good spot for that one, but take a deep dive into that first matchup. See if what Kentucky did well is something that Tennessee can adjust to the second time around. Austin Peay and Murray State, strong game in the Ohio Valley Conference. Potential bragging rights here and a regular season conference tournament or regular season championship could be on the line in this game, depending on how the standings set up. Those are always intriguing games as well, because even if you don't win your conference tournament but win the regular season, you generally get invited to the CBI or the CIT. So maybe that's a little bit of a nice consolation prize for those teams by virtue of winning the regular season. And again, as I just mentioned, conference tournament seeding usually matters quite a bit in these low and mid-major conferences. So getting that first banner can sometimes be a precursor to getting the second banner and that berth in the NCAA tournament. One more game to consider here real quickly, Nevada and Utah State. Super Bowl game here for Utah State. Looks to be the second best team in the Mountain West Conference behind Nevada. A lot of considerations in this game here. Obviously, you would expect Utah State to give a maximum effort in this one. Nevada, this is one of their few tune-up games as they go throughout the conference play schedule for the NCAA tournament. So should be a good one there in Logan. Definitely a game that you want to make sure that you check out this weekend. Again, a lot of considerations for this weekend, especially in college basketball. We'll be previewing all the conference tournaments over at BangTheBook.com once we know what the fields look like and can put together the schedule. So definitely something you want to keep an eye out for over there at the website. So with that, this is your Wednesday weekend look ahead. NBA, NHL, college basketball. Good luck with everything this weekend, everybody. I'm Adam Burke from BangTheBook.com.